Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chrisi from SolsticeATR and Balkan Capital Research. At SolsticeATR, what we provide is basically a service as an education for people to learn how to trade equities, futures, currencies, and commodities. We're not a financial advisor. We are an educational firm, and Vulcan Capital Research provides services for software development for hedge fund companies and other providers. Let's go over today is April 27th, 2019. We are going over the 14,500, the SPX, the NASDAQ 100, the small cap Russell, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And what I've done, I've combined those four instruments to show us that we are continuing to go higher, but unfortunately, we have not hit the prior high from before since November of last year. So we are still chugging along up higher. Let's just move a little bit more closer to show you what I'm looking at, so that way you guys are aware of it. Since the last 5 days consolidation in this area, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we pushed up, then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 6-day consolidation, and we pushed higher. And this week, because we had the Russell and the Dow Jones Industrial Average acting a little bit, from different instruments, we were not able to take the high. We consolidated the last 2 days, and on Friday we pushed back up. We had a push up, come back down, sideways action inside prior day, down day on Thursday, and Friday we picked ourselves back up. As long as we're above the 38,765 area, 60 area, we are bullish. If we are underneath the 38,600, beware, because your 18 SMA will be tested, and we can come back to the bottom of the breakout of this channel and the gap fill here. But I'm not saying we are bearish. We are still continuing on the upside. Let's take a look at each instrument by itself. Let's take a look at the E-mini contracts, which is the S&P 500 E-mini. Let's zoom down a little bit first of all to take a look at it. We have, come back. We almost hit the prior high. We are just about 29.47. We had a high on Friday, 29.4275, which is, a couple of points away from the prior high. And this is the oval we had. We had this prior oval here and the gap fill, which is down here. This is on the daily chart. If I zoom in this area just to show you, we're still coming along. Once again, this is the 5-day continuation push up, 6-day continuation, and a push higher. Then we consolidated Monday, then Tuesday, Tuesday, that was Monday, side action. Tuesday pushed higher, Wednesday side action, Thursday down day, and Friday a push higher. We broke the 39.75, 39.50, and we pushed up. We almost hit the 47. We're still down. We're still holding the up channel. If this is going to continue, look for the upside of the channel and maybe eventually 3,000. The upside of this channel in this area, if you notice, every day I move up. That's 29.57. The day after that is around 60. Let's say in 4 to 5 days we can get to 3,000 area. If we end up coming to this area, I'm going to put an oval in that area, and that oval going to represent for me a small little short, because it will be a mental number in here in case we get up here. I wouldn't mind having, a month, 2 month out in option, or the new coming quarter, the future ES contract as a short. I'm not saying to short it, but this is what we have to look for, because we still have that gap between the, this is in the daily chart. This was the 40 area, 75. This is the start up of the bottom of it, and that was 44.50. That gap on the SPX shows there's about 6-7 points here. And this is the first, 2900 is going to be very critical. As long as we're above on the daily 2900.75, we're going to be bullish. That's a mental number. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ/NQ. The NASDAQ looks a little bit different than the S&P. We cleared the prior 100% retracement. We pushed above it. We had this oval. Remember, I had that little area and I said, hey, we may have continuation inside this channel. We looked at it almost to the 900. We had 78, 79, 50. And on Friday, the NASDAQ was a little bit weaker due to the instrument such as Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix, Facebooks, the Teslas of the world. The NASDAQ 100 had a mixed bag in those technical charts as well as the biotechs. If the NASDAQ is going to continue and push higher, I would look for halfway. This oval, I'm going to remove it. What we're going to do is put another oval, remove drawing. This one is out of the picture. We're going to move this along to the 18 SMA, remove that one, move drawing, and I'm going to put it right here for the downside, first move down. This is the oval, we'll extend it a little wider. This is the gap in the NASDAQ 100 on that, consolidation, push higher, continue. This oval, what I'm going to do is move it halfway through that channel, and we're going to place it right in this area, okay, everyone? So this is the area we're going to look at. I'm going to make it a little wider because if you take the distance from here to here, 50% is here, 61 is about here, and 38% is about here. If we can get up here, that would be great in the 8,000, 8,025 for a reset lower, okay? This will be a mental number as well in the NASDAQ 100. Let's take a look at the small cap, RTY. Okay, let's minimize it a little bit. It's just a little bit crammed up. Okay, if you look at the Russell, it hasn't only taken the 61.8, and we've been in this range bound between the 14, let's call it 1,500 and 1,600 for the last 3 months. If the Russell has to continue higher, follow the NASDAQ, follow the S&P, can the Russell break and eventually get above the 1,600? If it does, this is my first oval. You can see it right here. There's one here. What we're going to do is remove that one. I'm going to just place it, remove it, remove which drawing? Come on, oval. What we're going to do, this oval here, we're going to keep it. It's just a little shadow. What I'm going to do, make it a little bit bigger, remove drawing. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So that would be the, on the way back down. I'd like to see the Russell around the 1640, 1650 area. I don't want to sound too bullish, but that 1600 is a very critical and important because it gives it a little bit more leg room. If I take a channel up this way and I draw it, what it'll do, it'll give us a little bit more instrumental outlook where the Russell can go to. See, if we just kind of, oops, this is a little bit off from here. Here we go. That's a little bit better. So if you notice, this is the mid, if you look at these two channels, if this is the midway of it, this is this area here. This is why I kind of posted it here. That 130, if you take the distance from here to here, that's 50%. That's 50. 38% would be the first move to come up to on the Russell 2000. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, YN. YN looks a little bit less than the S&P, less than the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ broke out. The S&P is almost at the double breakout. The Dow, if you notice this candle here, we got to it. We tried to get to this area. You see, we consolidated 2 days and we came back in. Let's take a look at it a little bit more in detail. So there's two ovals here. We're just going to keep that one here. This is the breakout of the prior one. See that little area here? That's the gap. What we're going to do is just put it in here. Oh, this is a line. Oops, I don't have an oval or a square. We'll just put this as a square. I'm just going to draw it right in here in this area. Okay, just extend it all the way out. Come on. There we go. I'm just going to keep that there because this one's going to take a while to get back here. So it's in an up channel continuation, but if you noticed, Wednesday was an inside day of Monday, then Thursday was a down day, and Friday the Dow tried to recuperate and come back up. If this is a rounded bottom, like here, rounded bottom, is this going to be the rounded bottom to continue up? If we cannot clear 26, let's call it, where is it, 26, 5, let's call it 550 to 2600, this is going to be a little bit bearish for the Dow. Okay, I'm not saying it's bearish because it can carry on like all the other instrument. What we're going to do, take this oval away and we're going to put it on the other side. Remove drawing. And what I'd like to see, if we can, if there's continuation, that the Dow will eventually get a double top in this area here. Instead of an oval, I'm just going to put a box here since we're using that instrument. We'll just leave it in here. That would be very mental, that 2700 area, 2966. Let's call it 2700. If the Dow is going to continue, that's what we'd like to see. All of them get to a round number, 3000, 8000. 1650, and maybe give it a little bit of pullback. So that's what I'd like to see. Let's take a look at now some of the instruments that reported and are going to be reporting this week. Let's take a look at Apple. This is Apple. It is continuing. Remember, this is the gap fill in Apple. Apple has not made it. It's going to be reporting this coming week. So keep an eye if Apple is going to still continue higher and hold the 18 SMA to continue up and eventually get to the upper side. This is Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. Oops. AMZN. Amazon already reported, I believe. And Amazon already reported, and it seems to be strong. This 2/3 of this move up, this is at the 61A. If Amazon can continue and get back to this area, that would be great. If Amazon comes back, retraces, look for the backside of this channel and the 18 SMA to go high. I'm going to remove this drawing because we already reached it. We're going to go get an oval because I like using the oval for those little instruments. Remember, your 61.8 would be around here and the upper level here. If not, look for the 18 SMA to come back to this area. The 50 SMA is so far away, we're going to move that oval to the bottom. Remove drawing. If there's any weakness in the market, that way you guys are aware of it. And that would be the 61.8 Fib, which is this area. I mean, if something happens, you know, that's where we eventually may come back to, but I'm not saying so. Let's take a look at BABA. BABA seems, you know, have been consolidating, is trying to break out of this box area. It's got a rounded, you know, nice rounded bottom here. If this is the cup of it and we can clear that, let's call it 190 area. This, you remember I put that little oval here? I'd like still to see it in there. What we're going to do is make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to move that oval a little bit to the higher side. See, that oval's still here for that 50 SMA. What we're going to do is move this one over, remove drawing, and we're going to remove the oval, and we're going to put this oval up here. And the bottom one will be on the 50 SMA because that 18 SMA may not hold. Remove drawing. I will put it right here at the 180 in case the market comes back down. So that's BABA. Let's take a look at Facebook, FB. Facebook already reported, it eventually cleared that. Oh, remember I was looking inside that consolidation to fill that gap. Before we go to look at it, just let me show you something here. If you notice, it's partially filled. It's got to the 78%. It hasn't come back all the way up to fill the gap. It's still got to the 78, got a rejection. Let's now move in here and let's take a look at it. This is an island reversal. That 50 SMA, I don't think is going to be tested this time very soon. Remove drawing. It should come back in, but you know, consolidate and come back higher. But if the market continues higher, since Facebook reported, you know, it's all about the wording, what they say. You know, the reports are usually there. There's a little gap in here. I'd like to see, you know, Facebook come back, fill the gap and continue higher. But keep an eye on it. And what I'm going to do is just put a box between here and here. And let's just leave it at that for now on Facebook. Because I wanted that 188 to be tested before continuing higher on Friday. Facebook hit 189, what was it, 189.09. I wanted 188, and I can show you why on the 15 just to go a little bit faster. We called it in our room for long, and the reset coming down. This area here, I want because of that push on the earning report halfway. If you take this distance from here to here, halfway is in this area. That's why I was looking at it. Okay, everyone. Let's go look at the other instrument. Let's go back to daily. Let's look at Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs hasn't reported yet. It's still in that consolidation. Hasn't been able to clear that area. You notice this line in the sand, that 203 area is being back and forth to 209. Missed that oval on the top to continue, you know, to fill that prior high. Came back consolidated. If this is like a cup, this is the shoulder of it, like a zigzag pattern. Is this a double handle and push up and come back to this area? Maybe possibility. So that's an area I'm looking for. That's Goldman Sachs. Let's take a look at Google. Google is almost at the prior annual high. If you noticed here, we had these two ovals. Google's going to be reporting this coming week. I believe it's reporting on 4/29. So keep an eye if it fills the gap, you know, they continue grinding it higher. We reached that prior oval. I'd like to see Google before the earning, you know, it's in an up consolidation area. If you take this candle here and this candle here, we can draw a channel, and that should be the area that Google should get to before they're going to announce a report if the market's going to continue higher. You see it? It already punched through it. Where are you? Come on. See, it already reached it. I mean, there's not much for me to point at other than this one. But if I take the other oval from here, from this area, and point it up, it's got a little bit more. Come on. There it is. It's got a little bit more room to go higher before the earning report. If it gets to here, then you know you can do you know, a butterfly, a spread, you know, or 2-for-1 if you think it's bullish, if you think bearish. I try not to do earning report, but at least I'm showing you, you know, the possibility of this area here or possibility of this area down here on Google. And Google looks like it's almost a double top on the annual chart. Let's take a look at Netflix, NFLX. Netflix was already reported last week, and it went down and came back up, and it's been in that box still, you know, in that consolidation. I had this prior oval, you know, because I wanted to fill this area here. I mean, can it eventually get up here and clear this area? If it does, that gap here, but this is because this is part of that gap, eventually it'll get up to here. If not, look for the backside of the, you know, the 240. Let's take a look at Tesla. This was one of my favorites. You know, I laugh and joke about it. Finally, Tesla gave up the pipeline and is eventually falling down. It couldn't get above. It's been, you know, in this down channel since December of last year. You know, every time Elon Musk, you know, I like him as a guy, but not as a business person. You know, the company's having issues. Every time it tries to go up, they bring it down. Every time it goes up, bring it down, you know, and it's very hard to short other than using options. If you look at the weekly, I mean, I really like to see Tesla down at the bottom of this oval area. You know, it's finally broke through that 250 area, 247. If this is going to continue, my real green box is down here, but this is the prior consolidation. This would be the first target, and the lower one would be a little bit more lower, and that would be, you know, in this area. So if it can come back to this area here, that would be, you know, a nice set to look to see if it is going to be a change in the structure, the way they are manufacturing. Is the outlook going to change on Tesla, or are they running out of money because this down channel, you see it here, you can do one parallel to it from here, but you can't really in reality, draw one. So basically this area to this area would be a nice reversal eventually. This is the green box. If you notice, it meets with this down channel in that 161 down fib. So if we look at it, I'd like to see this one before we continue. Let's go look at the XOM. Exxon, because of last week, the report, in oil, the last 2 days, oil got hit. Exxon came back in a little bit. It's gap down. It's below the 50 SMA. Is it possible to get back down to the $78? I would like to see it in the, in the 78 to grab some, Exxon shares. Let's take a look at WYNN already reported. When it pushed up, consolidated. If this is a rounded bottom, can it continue to come up to this area, the 160 area? Possibility, because this is the gap fill between this area and this candle down here. That's why I have this little oval here. I'm just going to move it eventually over here. Let's leave it at that. Let's take a look at GC, gold. GC, if you look at it on my daily chart, this is something very important that I had drawn before, and I said this is my 50 SMA. It actually got a bounce exactly to the sense. Look at the bottom of this candle, 1267.9. This tells you there's a lot of machines out there that are looking for levels to purchase instruments, whether they are equities, futures, currencies, commodities, options. They tend to bounce off the 50 daily SMA. And look where it bounced off. Exactly to that 1267.9, which is the same fib on the chart. There, let's just zoom in. There it is. And it popped to the 18 SMA and came back to here. And this is an area that I would be considering. Is this the only that gold has to offer? Come back 1/3 and push higher to come back to this upper channel. If it does and it breaks, it can come back, consolidate a little bit. Since the market, there's no fear in it, then come back, a break through this channel, then your target would be the 61.8. What I'll do, I'll put an oval here. We'll leave it eventually to come down and come back up. This would be one more time there will be a buy in gold, and this is the target that we'll be looking for. And the 50, because I would like to see it come back into this area and push higher. Okay, let's take a look at CL, oil. That would be the last instrument, and I'll recap on the S&P. Oil, if you notice, it was coming up, to this prior breakdown. It got to this area. Look where its consolidation was. It hit that consolidation, couldn't clear it. It went above the 61.8. I was looking for the 68 area to come up to and come back down. It missed it and came back down to my prior oval down here. Let's zoom in a little bit to show you. See, I mean, if this is going to come back up, can it consolidate in this breakout? Because this was the side action, pushed up, went sideways for like 10 days and pushed up and came back in. If this is going to hold the prior breakout, this would be a great area to purchase on the 50 SMA. We're going to leave this oval out of the way. We had it before. We know where it is. Remove drawing. Come on. And this oval, we'll just reset the oval on it. We'll remove it and move it to the right side. Remove drawing. We'll just put it here. And eventually, if it comes back here, remember it hit halfway. What I'd like to see is that oil come back to that area, and we'll put an oval up here eventually. But remember, halfway through this distance between here and here, 2/3 of it is here. So the back target would be first here on the way back up. Okay, let's go to the Fortune 500. And this is the Fortune 500. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. As long as we're above the 2,900 for recap, we're still bullish. We have a lot of, VWAPs underneath us, which have not been revisited. I don't want to call them poor structures or weaknesses because we had breakdown, come back up, consolidation, push up. This was the gap from Friday to Monday. We went up, consolidated for 5 days. went up, consolidated for 6 days, pushed up, came back in, down a little bit on the reset. We hit the channel on the daily, bounced off it. We missed the 47. If this is going to continue, do we go to this number? Or do we reject and come back to the 29 and come back to fill the gap? So this is this week. We just have a couple more earnings left on the board. And let's see what next week holds for us. Enjoy your week. Signing off, Chrisi from SolsticeATR, and take care, everyone.